Hey guys, in this video we're going to set up our development environment on a Raspberry Pi, set up our breadboards with our LED circuit, and after that we'll write a simple program to play with our LEDs. So here I'm logged into my Raspberry Pi. So let's first let's just update and upgrade our packages. Okay, so we're also going to want to use the Python package manager pip. And we're also going to want to install Git. And since I'm working remotely, I'm going to want Vim on here. So if you're working on the desktop version, you can use whichever text editor you'd like. But since I'm remote here, I'm going to use Vim. Okay, so I have saved some code for this tutorial as well as the breadboard schematic in a Git repo. So let's clone that right now. I'm gonna install Tree as well. So we're in our home directory here. So let's change into this repo. And we can see what's in here. I got a few code examples. And the schematics are saved in the image directory. One more piece of software before we start writing any code to control our GPIO pins. And that's going to be the Python library. So we're going to use pip to install this. So it'll be pip3 install rpi.gpio. So now that we have all the software we need, it's time to set up our boards. If you don't have one of these breadboard kits, there's tons available on Amazon for under 15 bucks. Order one and come back to this video in a couple days if you don't have your LED and breadboard kit. So we have all the software and we'll start writing our program soon, but first let's set up our breadboard. So this is the schematic of the configuration that I'm using. So I have 9 LEDs here. This is our Raspberry Pi, and it's important to note that in the code, I'm using the GPIO pin numberings here. So you can see that there's just the generic numbers here, 2, 4, 6, that go up in order. And the pin numbers that I'm going to be using in our programs are going to be these numbers here. So if it says pin number 17, we're using GPIO pin 17, okay? Right here. So this is our ground wire. It's connected to ground. So let's actually pull. So we have our ground wire connected to our rail there on the breadboard, and the rest are just going to be using generic GPIO pin. You'll see in the program exactly where all these go if you have a hard time seeing. So let's start writing our Python program to control our LEDs. So this will be pretty basic. So we'll call this pin controller. So first we need to do is import our Pi library that we installed via pip3, and we'll call this GPIO. Now we're going to set up our pin configuration. So this will be exactly as the schematic was. So if yours changes at all, this is where you'd want to change it in your program, okay? Okay, the next step is to set our mode. So we're going to be using the board configuration number. So this is like I was talking about earlier with the GPIO pin numbering and not the generic one. It uses GPIO pin numbering. Okay, so now we're going to set up all our pins. We're going to loop through our pin list here. And since it's just a list of dictionaries with the pin number and the color, we're going to loop through them all and set up each pin. So it's going to loop through, grab pin 23, set it as an output pin, because we're going to use it to output some power to turn on our LEDs. And we're going to set the initial state to low, which is off. So I'm pretty terrible at typing and talking at the same time, so I'm just going to kind of go through these. So let's just write a simple function to toggle the color. It'll take 2 parameters, our color and the state we want them to be in. We're just going to extract the pin numbers, the target pin number. So this will be a list of integers. So we're going to loop through all the pins here, and if the pin has color target, so whatever, if we want red pins, it'll pull all the red pins out into this list. And then we're going to just loop through that pin number list. And if we wanted them to go on, we're going to turn them all on, and if we want them all off, we're going to loop through and turn each of those pins in our target pin number off. Okay, so let's use this toggle color function. So we'll just write one called color on. This way we only have to pass in the color, and then we'll simply call that toggle color. We'll do one with off, and then we'll just write one just to control pins individually. So if we want the pin to go on, we'll just give it the GPIO pin number, and this is the RPi function that will turn a pin on or off. And if we want to turn them all on, we'll just loop through each pin, turn each pin on, and loop through all. We can turn them all off. Okay, so let's just exit out of this and test out our program. Okay, so let's test out this program we wrote. So let's just start the Python interpreter, and we're going to import pin controller, and we'll call it something a little shorter. And let's try some of these functions we wrote. So first let's just try all on. So we'll go PC on. There we go, all on. Okay, let's turn them all off. Okay, good, so that's working, and let's maybe just try turning on a specific color. So we'll go color on, and let's pass it in red. Right on. Okay, so that's it for this video. Now that we know how to use RPi to control our GPIO pins directly, we can start to think about how we're going to design our RESTful API. So we're going to use this API to control our pins over HTTP. So tune in for the next video where we'll get started with the Flask micro web framework for the building of our API. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see when the next video comes out.